Okay, it's 1 o'clock, and our first committee meeting of the day is the Planning and Economic Development Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, Connor, Bolden, Boyes, and Hannah. We do have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I'd like to move forward and call the Planning and Economic Development meeting to order. All members are present, but we do have minutes to approve from our last meeting, please.
So moved. Second.
All in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, well, thank you. We don't have nothing to discuss on our old agenda, so we're going to move right into our new pieces of legislation, and I'm going to ask Sarah, our clerk of council, to read those in, please.
Item number 4 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a daycare business center at 943 Springdale Street and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. I'd like to refer and advertise this for a public hearing.
Item number 5 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to install digital signage over the height limitation at 1 South High Street and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to also refer this item for a public hearing on June 15th.
Item number 6 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a parking lot at 921 Cordova Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. I would like to refer this one for a public hearing to be scheduled on June 15th.
Item number 7 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with the Board of Education of the Akron Public School District for the Akron After School Program to provide for general operations of the program and a pilot partnership expansion with the Akron Area YMCA in the East Cluster and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Who is here to speak on this? Please step up if you don't mind and state your name for the record and everybody that will be speaking. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Rochelle Wardell. I'm Education and Health Strategist in the Mayor's Office. I have with me Desiree Bolden. She has been running the Akron After School program since its inception, about 25 years ago, I believe. And she will do most of the speaking here today, but high level, we have been supporting this program that has produced measurable results for about 25 years. The city has been a steady supporter of this program while other funding is quite volatile. And so we look to continue at the same level for operations of funding that we did last year, which was $250. And we are looking to support a new pilot expansion in partnership with the YMCA in the East Cluster, which Desiree will tell you more about.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate you being here.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for the long-term continued support. What you're going to hear about in our expansion is what the dollars that the city has invested in. It's actually 26 years now. I keep saying 25 too, but it's 26, and the impact that we're having on our communities. Based on the last 3 years of strong data on academics and attendance, Akron After School is looking at expanding out into year-round, school year-round service, providing a space for kids for after school. What the data is showing us attendance-wise is that kids who come to after-school programs have the highest attendance in the elementary district. So not only is their daily attendance higher, there's a chronic absenteeism number that we look at, meaning that they miss 10 days or more of school. Our chronic absentee numbers for Akron After School are significantly less for those who attend Akron After School, meaning that you have a building that has 48% chronic absenteeism, and that is Cyberling right now in the East Cluster. Out of the 48 chronic absenteeism kids, Akron After School is showing 33%. That's still not a great number, but it's a significant percentage less than the school as a whole. Does that make sense? So based on that impact that Akron After School is having, the district's looking at it as a fiscal strategy. We want to be competitive for enrollment. So think about having young kids. You're working, you're looking for daycare, you're looking for aftercare. APS is going to be a front runner. We're going to be the only district eventually by 2027 that offers every elementary school having year-round aftercare. So that's where we're headed. Fiscal strategy for us, we want to up enrollment, we want to retain families, we want to reduce mobility. It's a workforce stabilization process. It's supporting our working families. Also with our career and college academies in the elementary transformation model, we do career exploration. So we're creating a future workforce by those kids, by incorporating in our curriculum. And then our impact on academics and attendance, which is huge. Our kids are outperforming their peers. They're also outperforming in certain areas the elementary district as a whole. So we're really excited. The Y has agreed to be a partner in this. What that means for Akron After School will still operate, but we will operate in certain blocks of time. We'll still be doing the intervention and the enrichment, but with our partner, the Y, they'll come in the first day of school, offer aftercare all year round. They have the ability to have families have it free or reduced if they qualify for the child care subsidy. They also have scholarships for those that don't qualify, so that it can be as minimal as $10 a week for some of our families. Our East Cluster is our highest need for attendance help. They have the highest chronic absenteeism in our district. So we're going with the 4 buildings right there to offer this. We've already had pre-registration links out for our families. Our intent is all summer long to work with families in our Family Resource Center. Mr. Hanna, you were visiting that, to get families to understand what the possibilities are. So we have a whole layout. So that's exciting, but this springboard to here is because of the investment in Akron After School. We are making a difference in our communities.
This is a lot what you hear from us when we talk about Youth Success Summit and supporting Youth Success Summit. When children have something to look forward to after school, they're more likely to go to school. And when kids are at school, then teachers can do what they do and we have better academic performance. So we want to do all that we can to support opportunities for our youth to participate in quality programming in the out-of-school time space.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And it's 26 years we've been doing this? Okay, thanks. Well, I'll move on and see if there's any committee members that want to ask any questions or, give comments. Mr. Hanna?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Bolden, thank you so much for all that you do. And it's exciting to hear that this will be a year-round project. And I didn't know anything about this project until last year when your ambassadors gave me a tour of David Hill. And I was very excited and impressed. So thank you for all that you do, and you have my vote on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman, appreciate that. Councilwoman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wonderful program, and the fact that you're focusing on the highest chronic absenteeism district or cluster is exactly what we should be doing. Curious, so you mentioned, so kids come to school more often when they have something to look forward to after school, but are there other deterrents to them getting to school? Because clearly this is making a dent, but it's not fixing the problem. Are we looking at ways of getting more kids at school?
I can answer that, yes. And actually, meeting with each of the principals in the East Cluster buildings, I've been enlightened to more of the transportation issues that we have. Right now, the district, and we're exploring that. As you know, or you may not know, APS we're facing another $11 million cut. So asking for more money to start an initiative is kind of tricky, but we're hitting some fiscal opportunities. Some of the things that we've learned, David Hill is a perfect example. In the state of Ohio, we don't have to bus if they live under 2 miles. David Hill's highest problem with attendance is those that living in Joy Park. They live 1.6 miles away. So we don't bus. at APS. So we're exploring if we could focus on that community and not follow the 2-mile rule. How much is the cost? We're still putting numbers together. We're also trying to be innovative and think of maybe community partners that might be able to, Metro, to be able to help with specific instances, specific neighborhoods, if we could map it out. So we're in the process. The thing that I'm really proud about Akron Public Schools is they have long committed to Akron After School. All our kids that are bused during the day get bused home when they're done with Akron After School. So we already have that level of commitment. It's just identifying the costs of extending that out. But thank you for that. There's, kids crossing highways. You think about 1.6, I was like, okay, well, if you don't have transportation, you're walking one way 1.6, you're walking back home 1.6. If you have little ones, they're not walking by themselves, so the adult has to walk. If they have time or don't have time or bad weather or whatever, I would be the first one staying home if, I'm not slogging through the rain. So, just understanding our families' needs. Does that help? Yeah.
Good question. I did see Councilwoman Omobian first, then I'll go to Greer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to be modest at all about this program. I'm just so grateful and thankful that I was in on the front end and Desiree has been there the whole time. This program has just been outstanding and is recognized as one of the best probably in the country. But not only that, to see the results that we are getting, this is truly an investment in violence prevention and everything you can think of, because we have learned over the years that when children learn to read and learn academically, they perform much better, their behavior is better, everything is better. Not only are they providing support that aligns with the curriculum, they provide meals and all kinds of extracurricular activities that's integrated in this program. And we know that this is a superb program. So don't be modest, Desiree. I'm glad that we are seeing the kind of results that we are seeing. At last, we got somebody to put some data together to show that we are making a lot of progress. And again, these are at-risk kids. These are kids where the parents are either working or they don't have the kind of support. And now that we're giving them additional support, I support this wholeheartedly. Please add my name to the legislation because I want to go on record as being a part of this and being remembered for this, because this is just outstanding work. And I just applaud everybody that's involved in this, because this not only helps us with our kids and getting them ready for the future, it helps us hopefully to keep them on the right track, the right path, and reduce violence as they get older because they're more academically inclined. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I appreciate those comments. Councilman Greer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to echo my colleague, Councilwoman Amobian. This is a fantastic program. I want to thank Desiree and the entire staff. I've spoke with parents who have talked about just how much of an impact it has made on their kids. And I know that after school programming was a very instrumental part of my upbringing as well. And I just want to thank you also for looking into the issues regarding transportation, and then also, again, the outstanding work that you all have done. And it certainly addresses food insecurities, it addresses, violence prevention as well. But my heartfelt kudos and thank you to the entire staff because the Akron After School program is just an amazing thing.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate the comments. I do see Councilwoman Connor, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Echo my colleagues, Akron After School is a phenomenal program, and Desiree and her team and the team with the city and APS have done a great job. But if we think about education is the key to success, transportation is the key to education. and we have to solve these transportation problems. 1.6 is a lot, especially when you're looking at 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds who may be being raised by a grandparent who can't walk that distance, unable to do that. I mean, you can't just put these kids out on the sidewalks. Gone are the days of the neighborhood kids all walking to school together. That doesn't work these days. And transportation is a big, big piece of that. It may be a few streets, but if that street is Arlington Road or Wilbeth Road or one of those big crosswalks, we have to look at this really with all of our partners at the table. I would certainly love to be part of the conversation with regard to the East Cluster. And thank you again for all the good work.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Appreciate the comments. Okay, I don't see anyone else. I'm guessing moving forward, this is something you would want to suspend the rules on so we can get this moving.
I think if you all don't need more deliberation, we have had Akron Public Schools waiting longer than normal on this piece of legislation, so if we could suspend the rules, I'd be very appreciative.
That's a good answer. I like that. Committee?
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules with a favorable report.
Nice second.
I have a motion and a second for suspension of the rules. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain. All right, you have that, Sarah? All right,
I do. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming down. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So we'll move on to the following pieces, please, when you get time.
Item number 8 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to, if awarded, accept and expend grant funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the community project funding for the East Copley District Planning Project sponsored by Congresswoman Amelia Sykes and declaring an emergency.
All right, thank you. I do see who's going to speak on this piece. Chris, you are?
I'm going to start us off. This was through the Appropriation Committee through the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. And Emma, to my left here, is going to give a few brief explanations on how we went about this piece and the next piece to apply for these grants. And then myself and Christine Junkie, who's out there, will talk about how we're going to use these funds.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So last year, I know you've probably both heard of both of these projects a few times, but now that we have received our official notice of award, we are bringing them forward to council so we can accept and expend the funds. But we are grateful for the support from Congresswoman Amelia Sykes, who put 2 of our asks in the congressional appropriations cycle forward, and they ultimately passed in the final bill. As you can see, we got $250,000 for a safety study for Copley Road. This area specifically was chosen because of the high injury network and data from AMATS, and so this is really important for the West Akron neighborhood. Main Street Phase 3 is the other project in which I think we speak about next, but we also received $1.2 million from United States Department of Housing and Urban Development with the support of Congresswoman Amelia Sykes. So.
All right, thank you. Anything else to add before I open it up?
No, I think that's it. I mean, you know, the safety study is it's gonna improve safety and economic development opportunities in the what we're calling the East Copley District, which includes Copley, Maple, Diagonal, and Exchange. As Emma stated, it is on the high injury network of AMATS reporting, and we will focus on the vulnerable users, public engagement, and improved road safety.
All right, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Committee members first, any questions or comments for any of our presenters today? All right, I do see Councilwoman Omobian's hand is raised, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly am so pleased with this because I follow Congresswoman Amelia and how she is on the floor fighting for dollars for us from Summit County and all over the region. And to see that she was able to squeeze some money out for us in 2 different areas, I just say I applaud her and I thank her for her work. And I want to add my name to this too, as well, and the next piece as well. And the next piece is so interesting because we don't have a cash match. I don't know if the first piece, if there's a cash match, but the second piece says there's no cash match, if I'm correct by reading that. Thank you so much.
You are correct, Councilwoman Williams. There is no match to either one.
All right, thank you. Councilman Greer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I want to thank, Congresswoman Sykes as well. Really glad to hear about these studies going forward in this area. I did have a question. I know that several years back, AMATS did a safety study on Copley Road. Will Copley Road be able to, will one of the safety studies happen again on Copley Road now that a number of years have elapsed? Are we going to be taking the data from those previous safety studies and then, I guess, meshing that with the other areas?
Hi, Mark. I do remember that safety audit as well that AMATS put together, and absolutely, that'll be one of the pieces of information that we base our final report on. That was just scratching the surface. Of course, we've done a couple of things out there to try and help improve safety, but now some time has passed. We are going to take an in-depth look this time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman. All right, no other questions or comments. What are you looking at, Chris? What are you folks looking at for this piece?
Consent's fine.
Consent's okay. Committee motion for consent, please.
Consent, motion for consent.
Second.
All in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Sarah, moving on to our final piece, please.
Item number 9 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to, if awarded, accept and expend grant funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the community project funding for the downtown Akron Main Street project, sponsored by Congresswoman Amelia Sykes, and declaring an emergency.
All right, I'll return it back over to you folks. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Yes, this is another huge grant that we received through the Department of Housing and Urban Development with obviously the influence of Congresswoman Sykes. So this project is our Main Street Phase 3 project. There's a lot of people in this room, I think Susie and Sean are back there, that worked on this project with us to retain GPD, which is over 500 jobs down there between Cedar and Barges. As you know, this is about a $10 million project, and we did get a lot of funding from a lot of different sources. So this 1.2 million, just over 10% of the project, is going to be a real big help. So, you know, the water main down there is 140 years old. It was put in like 1880. That's going to get replaced. We're going to remove the center median. We're going to remove all the concrete. We're going to redo the roadway kind of to match the other two portions of Main Street. So it'll be consistent with bike lanes from Barges all the way to the north to Perkins. So this project will bid sometime in August, I think, late summer, and then we will work on utilities and doing the demo of that center island in the winter, and then you'll see a lot of construction down there in the spring and into the summer of next year.
All right, thank you. Committee members, any questions or comments? Or any other council members with us today? All right, I don't see any. Consent okay on this one too? Okay, committee?
I'll make a motion for consent.
Second.
All in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, well, that was our final piece for the planning and economic development, and nothing else. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Our next committee today will be the Parks and Recreation Committee, and it will begin at 1:45. Those committee members are Connor, Lombardo, Davis, Hannah, and Boyes. Again, that's the Parks and Recreation Committee, and it will begin at 1:45. Thank you. Okay, it's 1:45, and our next committee meeting of the day is the Parks and Recreation Committee. Those committee members are Connor, Lombardo, Davis, Hannah, and Boyes. We have all committee members present except for Councilwoman Davis. Whenever you're ready, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. May I have a motion? We have nothing on the old agenda. We have 2 items on the new agenda. But prior to that, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from our previous meeting?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. And I will ask Sarah if she would please read in the new legislation.
Sure. Item number 23 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with Aspen Institute's Project Play to conduct a study on youth sports access and declaring an emergency.
Thank you so much. I see all of my friends there. I'm sorry I can't be there with you in person. And I will turn it over to Mr. Lash to begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of council. I actually have asked my colleague, Danico Buckley-Knight, to come to explain this piece of legislation. He's brought select partners in to share in that explanation. So at this point, I will turn it over to Mr. Buckley-Knight.
Thank you, Director Lash, and a good afternoon to council. Appreciate being able to speak to you all in regards to this important initiative tied to Project Play and the Aspen Institute. I provided a few documents to you all that are present, and I'll make sure that those are online. I'll forward the documents as well. But I wanted to start by going back and reminding everyone that as a strategy to reduce violence in the city of Akron for youth and young adults, we created a strategic plan. And in that strategic plan, one of the overwhelming conversations was around what are we in Akron doing in the space of sports and wellness. So if you guys look at this first document, this is what, from the community kind of voice, I identify as opportunities that we in the city of Akron should explore in order to reduce violence and provide opportunities for youth. And one of this area specifically highlight that we should be creating sports and wellness as a pillar in our community in that out of school time space. So if you look at some of those key components, renovations and upgrades to the city of Akron community centers, we are actively doing that. We also are in the process of completing our project with the Lawton Street Community Center for our eSport Lab. Community-based sports and wellness programs sponsored by nonprofit organizations is definitely a focus that we are currently engaged in. Making sure that we support some of our legacy organizations, such as Akron Inner City Soccer, and the last one was really developing citywide partnerships with Akron Public Schools. So from this document, we have created a third pillar in our out-of-school time space around sports and wellness, and that is in partnership with Youth Success Summit. And with me, I have Isaiah Young and Dr. Element Williams-Woods, who at some point I'll pass the mic to them. So if you look at the opposite side, I wanted to just highlight what is the Project Play State of Play Akron report. And ultimately, it centers sports and wellness as a major strategy to prevent youth violence and provide opportunities for the community, which again, as I highlighted, was definitely focus areas that we outlined in the strategic plan. But it's really an in-depth report on how well youth are being served in a defined geographic area, and it captures recommendations from the community on how to mobilize to build an Akron youth-centered sports ecosystem. Why does it matter? The data, what Project Play Aspen Institute does is uses sports as a way to reach health outcomes. And the federal government has set a goal for our nation to reach 63% of youth to participate in 60 minutes of sports and exercise by the year 2030. And Aspen is a key entity that is working to reach that goal by the year 2030. And I also shared some data that kind of correlates with if we reach 63% of youth participating in exercise. Here are some of those outcomes that we'll receive, which includes, higher test scores, lower levels of depression, lower risk of heart disease, and higher earnings as they transition into adulthood. So here in Akron, we've had a number of recent wins to really elevate sports and wellness as a strategy to prevent violence and provide opportunities for youth in our community. Some of them are the City and Youth Success Summit has committed to include sports and wellness as a pillar of our out-of-school time ecosystem. And if you guys look at this document, it highlights that we have 3 areas of focus. One is in the area of enrichment, one is in the area of college and career readiness, and the third area is in sports and wellness. And again, I'll pass it to Youth Success Summit shortly, who will highlight what their role is as it relates to training, connecting families to opportunities, and system building. We also were able to award $100,000 in small grants to sport and wellness organizations, and we were able to also work with Mayor Malik during the U.S. Conference of Mayors. He endorsed the Children's Bill of Rights, encouraging all of our nation's mayors to sign off with the Children's Bill of Rights and focus on reaching that goal of 63% of youth participating in exercise by the year 2030. And lastly, another major win is the revisions in our CLCs to ensure that nonprofit organizations who are not charging fees are able to use our CLCs free of charge. So where are we at right now is we are looking at getting approval from you all as council to move forward with the partnership with the Aspen Institute to conduct the State of Play report in Akron. Phase 1 will be finalizing that contract, and then we'll be working hand in hand with Aspen and Youth Success Summit to adapt and identify a project strategy. We're also going to begin asset mapping and engaging with our action teams who we connected with 2 summers ago to hear what are the areas of opportunity that they want to see in the sports and wellness for our community in Akron. Phase 2 is more of the stakeholder interviews, conducting focus groups, student surveys, program, facility inventory. All of those phases will ultimately get us to phase 3, which is to host a stakeholder community event. At that event, we will be releasing the strategy to the community. There's going to be a report, a State of Play Akron report finalized. And then lastly, what we want to do is we want to activate our sports and wellness action team. And this team is the identified partners currently as of today that we want to walk alongside the Project Play State of Play report. And our goal is, as we hear what are our areas of strength and areas of opportunities around sports and wellness, that we can activate our sports and wellness mobilization team, which includes the Mayor's Office, Recs and Parks, Youth Success Summit, Leadership Akron, the LeBron James Family Foundation, Summit County Public Health, Akron Children's Hospital, Summit Education Initiative, and the University of Akron. So I'm going to pause and pass it to Isaiah Young, who is here on behalf of Youth Success Summit, who plays an integral role in the sports and wellness space for Youth Success Summit. And we are also, we meet on a regular basis to talk about those 4 action teams that our community identify in the sports and wellness space.
Thank you, Danico. And as you said, Isaiah with Youth Success Summit here. So I lead our sports and wellness branch at Youth Success Summit and work pretty closely with Danico and the city to move the work forward. And just really want to put an emphasis on what this State of Play report would do, would really just to allow us to excel in this sports and wellness space in our 3 roles as Youth Success Summit, right? So training and resource center, this will allow us to know exactly what training and resources our sports and wellness nonprofits need, and allow us to go and really just improve the quality of out-of-school time sports programming that we're seeing, right? Connecting families to resources. It'll really allow us, right, to again understand where all the organizations are, what they're doing, right, and then make sure again that they're functioning at a high quality, right, and then also being a systems builder, right. So this report will allow us to know where the gaps are, right, and how we can fill those, right. And so I think this is a significant investment and would be a real huge win for our community in the work that we're doing each and every day.
We also would like to have Dr. Ellen Williams-Woods share a little bit of information with you all as it relates to her role with YSS and how working with Aspen Institute will also allow her to use her skill set for resources to come into Akron.
Part of my role with this incredible partnership with the Youth Success Summit and all of you here with the city is two things. I support the whole concept of that system building. Like, how do we not just have events and collect information and have an event and then nothing comes from it? It may be because of 40 years in this city doing this kind of work. You get jaded towards the end where it's like we can't have one more commission or one more time when we're sitting down where we're not building something from it. So I come to the table with that lens to help the systems figure out when the community says, here's the barriers, here's what we need, then I provide support to actually figure out how do we implement it and how do we make sure over multiple years we don't let things just go by the wayside and slowly disappear. That can happen easily. The second thing is I support our partnership with fund development and bringing in additional grants into this community and having this kind of state of play and having data and clarity on what our gaps are and our strengths. This walks right into proposals to bring in additional funding to get actually those plans implemented and moving. We already have seen that happen with a grant that we were hoping. We're supposed to find out today. We're in the final fourth stage of a $250,000 grant through the Susan Crown Exchange. That it only came to us to get to this finalist round for this grant because Danico and all of our partners have engaged with Project Play and are in the process of, with your approval, moving forward with the state of play. That was a major win for us to communicate. That has positioned us that hopefully by this afternoon we'll be able to let you know that we are a recipient of that grant. So it positions us to do so much more for additional money outside of our community, which I think we're all interested in attracting.
Thank you so much. We're thrilled to have this come to Akron, and I'll open it up for any questions from committee members. Councilman Lombardo.
Thank you. Great work, everybody. You know, I love sports, and so I really think that's important for the kids. Always believed in that, and just gives them some outlet and just, you know, you've heard it all with the teamwork and building friendships and stuff like that. So I really support that, support everything you do. I just have one question. I don't know who would go to, but when Mayor Malik, you know, come up with this sports and wellness grant last year, the $100,000, was that just a one-time thing?
You can address it to Mr. Buckley.
Nico?
Yeah, so we committed to 2025 in the budget to allocate $100,000 for sport and wellness grants. That was not committed for 2026. The ask is around the Project Play Aspen Institute to conduct the State of Play report.
Can we put it in the 2027 budget?
With council's approval, absolutely.
I think that's important. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from committee members? Councilwoman Boyce.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. wonderful program. I know I've been somewhat involved from a distance and watching the great work and the partnership with the various organizations and neighborhoods. And I just wanted to bring it up. Like, you're working with neighborhood level organizations that have never gotten any attention from the city. Truly, like in a neighborhood like ours where we don't have a strong community center presence for youth, we have local organizations filling that gap. So, I see that you list, community partners. Like, I think that's important. And I don't know how that is in the other wards, but, those neighborhoods that don't have a heavy investment in community centers, don't have a heavy investment in school, these are the lifeblood of the youth, staying active in these communities. So kudos, whatever I can do to be helpful, but just want to encourage you in that way.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Councilwoman Boyce.
Thank you. Any questions from other council members? Councilman Hanna.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. How do you know?
Mr. Hanna, can you turn on your microphone, please? She's not going to be able to hear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you do in the community with the youth. And how do you gauge if this program is a success? And what age group are you targeting? And what happens after you leave out of school? Are you targeting any of the youth after school? Because this seems to be the largest problem in the community, is that 21 to 25, they're using a lot of violence. So how are you measuring your success with this program?
So I agree with you, Councilman Hanna, which is why I truly believe that this is going to be a game changer in our community. Talking to the community, specifically like our sports and wellness community leaders, they've felt neglected as it relates to really focusing on them. And I believe that this Project Play State of Play Report Akron solely focuses on them. So we check off that box of they want attention and they want to know that we, the city, really has a commitment to hearing what they are in need of and what they want to see happen in Akron. The State of Play report is aimed for up to high school. So this report will focus on what are we doing great in Akron from grade school all the way up to high school. What are the areas of opportunity, especially compared to other communities, that we should start to focus on. But it's a heavy focus of elementary, middle school, high school. We have some other strategies that are in alignment with that 21 to 25-year-old population, but it's in that workforce development space. So more information I can share with you about what we're doing in that 21 to 25-year-old range. But this Project Play State of Play report is more aimed for up to 12th grade.
Well, how are you measuring your success?
Yeah, so we want to conduct this State of Play report, which is a couple of months of exploration, allowing Aspen Institute to use their expertise as leaders in this space to develop what that State of Play report is. What we know is, in compared to other communities, we're a little bit progressive with where we're at because we've identified a number of key stakeholders to serve on that kind of mobilization team. And what the ultimate goal is twofold. One, we want to make sure that we are giving our youth and young adults access to sports and wellness in our community. We want to make sure that we reach that goal of 63% participating in extracurricular activities by the year 2030. But the other piece is each of our identified stakeholders, they have some goals that they want to see accomplished as well. So it's going to be an ultimate goal of making sure that this report gives us a roadmap to increase participation amongst youth and young adults in sports, but also Recs and Parks, the Mayor's Office, the LeBron James Family Foundation, Summit County Public Health. They all will be able to set individual goals that aligns with their mission for their organization.
Councilwoman Amobian, question, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I certainly support this because I do believe everything that we can do to keep our young people actively engaged in positive activities will certainly reduce their tendency to get into violent activities. I am just not familiar with this Aspen Institute. If someone could talk about that a little bit and give us some sense of what are they actually going to do and who are they going to do it with?
So I can forward you some additional information post this call, but I can talk through ultimately what Aspen Institute is going to do is basically it's going to be an 8 to 12 month exploration within our community. The first goal is once the contract is complete, we're going to make sure that we work with Youth Success Summit and work with the Aspen Institute to identify what is our strategy. And from there, based off of our strategy, we're going to work with the Aspen Institute to begin asset mapping of our community to learn, what are we doing in our community, who's doing what are the gaps that we need to fill. And then they're also going to begin engaging with our action teams. Our action teams are focused on marketing and communication, coordination of services, funding and resources. And those action teams were identified from community conversations. So then the second phase is they're going to begin doing stakeholder interviews. We have identified some of the stakeholders, which are a part of the mobilization action team, but there will be additional kind of like solicitation of other stakeholders based off of our asset mapping and based off of the knowledge of Aspen Institute, based off of them being national leaders in this space. And then we're going to make sure that we do a program facility inventory. And then based off of that, Project Play Aspen Institute will compile that. It's going to be very data-driven to basically host what they call like a community event. And at this community event, we will have our stakeholders, we will have our action team members, we will have our community-based organizations. They all will learn what that strategy is, what the report kind of highlighted as it relates to areas of strength and how to enhance those strengths, but more so areas of opportunities. And lastly, the goal is to have a call to action based off of enhancing those strengths and really more so enhancing those opportunities. And we are going to be working with our mobilization action team to make sure that the areas of opportunity based off of the report, they can assist with enhancing those areas of opportunities. And that is kind of like the gist of what we'll be doing with Aspen Institute.
If I can follow up, Madam Chair. I know that we have invested a lot of the ARPA dollars in a lot of nonprofits that work with youth. Are those organizations, for the most part, the children that they touch, are they going to be part of this study, and are they going to, that's
Absolutely.
where we get the data from, so we know that we're not hitting the same children that maybe participated in multiple programs, that we are hitting more children around the city, just to get a feel for what they are doing and what they would like to do so we can fill those gaps. And this study will tell us all of that.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And that is why we want to work with to conduct this study, because we want the leaders who uses sports and wellness as a way to reach health outcomes to guide us, the city of Akron, based off of them being the national leaders in that space.
I like the long-term vision as well, because I think as more we try to put things in place that will give us long-term results, the better off we will be. So thank you very much for what you're doing. I certainly appreciate the work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Councilman Garrett.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. I'm thoroughly impressed with Mr. Danico and your approach to everything that you're doing around in sports and wellness. I'm sort of shocked that in 2026, the $100,000 wasn't back in the budget. But more importantly, with you and Mr. Young, that $175,000, sometimes I think in our city, we go out to get folks to come in to give us a report. you guys are more than capable of doing that yourself. Am I missing something? Why would we spend $175,000 for somebody to come in and tell you guys what I think you guys already know and apply those funds? Can you help me with that?
Yep. So, definitely great question. And what I would say is, from talking to the community has also expressed similar concerns around, okay, we're bringing in these folks who aren't from Akron, and they're going to be, quote unquote, telling us what we already know. The problem is we don't have a national leader like Aspen Institute telling us what the problem is. We, as boots to the ground, are hearing what the problem is, but in my belief, working with Aspen Institute really gives a holistic kind of view of what the issues are, what the concerns are, and how to mobilize not just specific groups, but entire city. Aspen Institute has conducted these state of play reports through various cities, and they don't just sit on a shelf after the report is conducted. One of the successes that I believe aligns directly with us is the city of Oakland, California, who recently did their state of play report. Some of the data points, which I'm sure leaders in Oakland knew, was girls weren't participating nowhere near as much as boys were participating. But the report identified that only 19% of youth in Oakland, California were receiving 60 minutes of exercise. So hearing those alarming numbers, the superintendent, along with the health department, along with some other community stakeholders, which included Steph and Aisha Curry from the Eat, Live, and Play Foundation, they've kind of invested in making sure that they get their youth to participate more actively, specifically around girls' participation. And one of the investments was a $50 million commitment to ensure that that takes place by the year 2027. So we believe, similarly in Akron, that this state of play report is going to really give us some alarming numbers that with council, with the community, with the mayor, with us holistically, we are going to have to roll our sleeves up to rectify what that report says.
Thank you. And I'm supportive of what you want to do in terms of the $175,000 for Aspen, because I'm hearing you saying that's going to parlay into some additional funds. But I am more, and I'm supportive of it, but I am more than confident that you and Mr. Young could do this without their help. But I hear you, and I will support it, because I've seen what you guys have been doing, and I'm really impressed with what you guys have been doing. So I'm really, really in support of it. So thank you.
Thank you. And I will also just share that this has been discussed amongst a number of our sports and wellness nonprofit organizations, and they all understands the ultimate end goal. It's important to make sure that there's an end goal, and that investment of $175,000, they all agree that we, the city, should make that investment.
Thank you. One follow-up question, Madam Chair. You mentioned 60 minutes. Was that 60 minutes of sports a week or a day?
A day.
A day? Okay,
a day.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And it can be sports or wellness, but what we're hoping is to elevate sports, because in the community here in Akron, a lot of our sport and wellness organizations felt like that's the area of opportunity that we should invest in.
Thank you all for your questions and comments. Thank you, Danico, Ellen, Isaiah, the team, Mr. Lash, for bringing this forward. Are there any other comments or concerns, questions? With that, Mr. Lash, what's the pleasure?
Madam Chair, consent is fine.
May I have a motion for consent?
Motion for consent?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Consent is passed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll read in number 24, please.
Item number 24 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with Community Hall Foundation, doing business as Akron Civic Theater, to provide professional services for the management of the Heinz Pole Summer Dance Festival and declaring an emergency.
Thank you so much. Mr. Latch, go ahead, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of council, this is our annual summer legislation for the dance festival, and I was fortunate enough to bring my colleague Emma Lieberth Osborne and our community partner Jane Starsman. I'm going to turn it over to Emma for further explanation.
Yeah, Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lash. Thank you, Councilwoman Connor and members of council. This is our annual summer legislation bringing forth the Heinz Pool Summer Dance Festival. As I think all of you know, the Heinz Pool Summer Dance Festival is coming into its 52nd year, founded in 1974. It has been a partnership within the city of Akron since 1975. Heinz Pool is named after the founder of the Ohio Ballet. And the Heinz Pool Summer Dance Festival running through the city of Akron is one of the only dance festivals run through a local government in the country. And we are really proud of the work that Jane and her team are doing. The goal of this dance festival is really to bring the arts into neighborhoods and make it accessible for all kids and for families and for residents and anybody who wants to see dance but who may not have other opportunities, make this something that's really prevalent in their neighborhoods. So Jane Startzman, who is the director of the Heinz Pool Summer Dance Festival, is here, and she's going to walk through a little bit of the 2026 schedule, a couple new things that we're doing throughout the course of the next few months. Jane?
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me. And I'm so pleased that we're in our 52nd year. My gosh, time flies, right? I wanted to go over a little bit about what we're doing this year. The first thing we're doing is new. We're doing a preview performance on June 18th at the Art Museum. We thought we'd try that, be a little bit different, get everybody started off at the beginning of the summer. And that'll be Ohio Contemporary Ballet. Then our regular 3 festival weeks we have coming up beginning July 24th. And the first park is Forest Lodge Park, featuring Ohio Contemporary Ballet. Second one is Goodyear Heights Metro Park, featuring our guest company, Dayton Contemporary Dance Company. And the third week is Firestone Park, featuring Inlet Dance Theater. We do have some special programs. We're continuing our Yoga in the Park, which takes place at each site each week on stage, and that's become very popular. We are also continuing our master classes at the University of Akron. That, by the way, is the only thing that where there's a charge, $10 a person. It's mostly advanced and intermediate dance students, but everybody is welcome. Everything else is free to the public. And then we have our interactive workshops, and I have 2. I'm working still on a third one that's not quite ready yet, but Patterson Park and Joy Park Community Center are on board for interactive workshops. And lastly, just wanted to let you know we're going to try something new too. You're all invited to a picnic. This is for council and cabinet to come July 31st at Goodyear Metro Parks for a little picnic, a little backstage tour, meet the dancers, and hopefully you'll stay for a performance. So if you have any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you so much. Any questions from committee members? Councilman Hanna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's interesting that none of these programs and none of these performances is in the Black community, and that's kind of troubling to me. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have a large production, but if you had just a stage that you could bring in to some of the Black communities and some of the parks, then you can't be what you can't see. And I've been to some of the events in the park that you have, and there are adults there, African American adults, but I don't see too many children. Mm. And if you could bring just a small version of the ballet perhaps to the parks and the areas that's underserved, it might help and open up our young people's eyes to ballet. Thank you.
Thank you. That is noted. Dayton Contemporary Dance Company, for one, I don't know if you've seen them, but they have the largest, or one of the largest, African American repertoires in the nation. They're fierce. They're wonderful. They are coming to Goodyear Heights Metro Park. We do have kids come. We have a pre-show interactive program for children. before each performance at each park. And I absolutely hear you. And yes, we need to work on that. We will work on that. We do. Our whole goal is to expand into as many neighborhoods as we can in different ways. And you're right, we have the big stage each of 3 weeks. We could do something smaller. We need some money. We need a space. We need to figure that out. But absolutely. I mean, for us, our tagline is dances for everyone. We intend to get into as many neighborhoods as we can afford to put something up and do something, and that's partially what the interactive workshops, that is a way to reach people. At Joy Park, we get as many as 80 kids there, and Patterson Park on an average of 30 or 40, and we're glad for that, and we'd like to have more. So I hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be looking forward to seeing that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Any from any other council members? Thank you so much for the presentation. We look forward to it every year. Glad to have you back at Goodyear Metro. Mr. Lash, what's your pleasure?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would ask for consent.
May I have a motion for consent, please?
Motion for consent?
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. We're adjourned.
Our next committee today is the Public Service, Public Utilities, and Green Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, Wilson, Bolden, and Lombardo. We'll give everyone just a moment to get to their seats. Thank you.
I'm ready, Sarah. Psst.
Okay, we're ready to begin the Public Service, Public Utilities, and Green Committee. Again, those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, Wilson, Bolden, and Lombardo. We have all committee members present except for Wilson. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to call the public service meeting to order. All members are present except for Councilperson Wilson. We do have minutes to approve from our last meeting 2 weeks ago. If I can get approval, please.
Motion to approve previous meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. We do have quite a few new pieces in front of us today, but I'm going to go back to our old agenda and would like to see if Sarah, our clerk of council, can read into one piece that we took time 2 weeks ago, please.
Yes, this is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with Bell Bank Equipment Finance for the lease of 6 2026 Elgin Pelican NP street sweepers and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, 2 weeks ago we took time on this item, but we did not discuss it. So our service director, Chris Luddle, is with us today, and we're ready for you, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes, this legislation is directly related to our Elgin sweepers for street cleaning, obviously. What we have learned over the last few years, and I think most of you remember, we are now leasing our sanitation trucks. Due to the cost of these pieces of equipment and the high cost of repairs, this model, we looked at repairing what we had. We looked at buying outright or leasing. So this lease, the way we rated all three programs, leasing is the best option. We have 6 sweepers are between 10 and 13 years old. And then when you look at rebuilding these sweepers, it's more than the cost of buying a new sweeper. Okay, so we're getting trade-in value for a few of these sweepers we're trading in, and then we are going to lease these sweepers, and then we will turn them back in. We can have the option to buy after this lease expires, but what we will do is we will turn them back in, and basically just like the sanitation trucks, we're doing minor maintenance. We're doing the PMs on them, the fluid changes, if it needs a new brush, but there's no big mechanical repairs that will be needed on this 3-year lease. So we estimate over the 3 years, we should save about $500,000 over that time, which obviously will help. As you know, this is totally funded through the street cleaning and street lighting assessments. This operation, which is not only just for the sweeping we do in the summer, but it's our leaf collection that we use this equipment, and we really push it when we're doing our leaf collection. So with that, I will take any questions. Obviously, the new sweepers, when you have a 10-year-old model and you have this, the fuel efficiency is a lot greater too. So will be a fuel efficiency and a safety, and obviously lowering the maintenance cost.
All right, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. All right, committee members, do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Luddle? Anyone else with us today? Questions or comments? All right.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, Councilwoman Omobian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How much would it be new, Chris, if you purchased the equipment new?
A new sweeper? A new sweeper's cost is around just over 300,000 each. So it's for 6 new sweepers would be 1.8 million.
That's it. And you're going with the leasing, that is how much, you know?
So we're going to do this leased option where we're going to lease these for 1.1 million for 6 sweepers.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Councilwoman. All right. Nothing else? Can I get a committee?
Motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
All in favor of suspension of rules, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, well, that was our one piece from our old agenda, so we'll move into our new agenda for today, new legislation. I'll ask Sarah if she could read in number 10, please.
Item number 10 is an ordinance ratifying the actions of the Director of Public Service in contracting with Eslich Wrecking without the formality of publicly advertising for bids for the emergency demolition of a nuisance structure located at 1086 Brown Street and declaring an emergency.
Chris Luddle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Yes, this piece of legislation, actually, we brought it to you in March for this address. And as we explained, you know, this vacant building was order raised in 2021, and then there were some appeals that went through by the owner of the property. Then in late December of this past year, in 2025, the exterior facade collapsed, and then some of the interior collapsed. So we had to do an emergency, and we picked Eslich Wrecking, who was nearby, to take this building down. That was after we talked to Summit County Building. They did an analysis with the fire chief. When we brought this legislation before to you, it said with the formality of publicly advertising, which we did not. So this is to clean that up, that legislation, because we did not advertise this. We had Eslich go right out there and demo it. So This new piece of legislation is to clean up what was said in the old piece of legislation.
All right, I got you. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Anyone else with us online? Councilwoman Omobian?
I'm just curious, would this have been cheaper had we done it in 21? It sounds like the building was in worse repair by the time you got to it in 25 or whenever.
Well,
And
obviously, the
someone,
prices go up every year. You're right. But when the process we have, when we bring it to the vacant building register, we bring it to the board, and they have the rights, the owner does, to make improvements or make the corrections. So we grant those, and we granted another one. They didn't get all the repairs done. It went on, and finally we said we have to take it down. We were waiting on another appeal, and then the thing collapsed. Well, at that point, there was no more. The safety of the abutting properties, we had to get it down. So it's just a process that goes through when we do those orders, or we say that to the board. They have the owner has the right to appeal and make those improvements to shore it up. So it just never happened.
yeah, is he going to pay anything towards this bill
It'll be assessed, yes, ma'am.
against him? Will we ever see those dollars, you think?
Yep, law department will assess the property owner.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilwoman. What is your pleasure on this one, Chris?
Could we suspend the rules?
Yep.
I mean, we passed it in March.
Yeah, we can do that.
I'll make that motion to suspend the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
All in favor of suspension of the rules, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Sarah?
Item number 11 is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the replacement of and improvements to the high service pump ball valve and limit-torque manual valves at the Water Supply Bureau and declaring an emergency.
Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of committee, this legislation will allow us to replace 6 high-service ball valves after we do bid this project, that we will bid it. Also includes the automatic sensors for opening and closing and a manual butterfly valve adjacent to each ball valve to service them. The existing ones are beyond their useful life. They're 25 years old, and these are really critical to our operation. So we have these 6 high-service pumps just at the end of the plant. These are the water that pushes out from the plant. If we have a failure of a pump, well, those valves need to shut because we're always pumping out, and we never want to bring water back from the distribution system and then backflow through into the plant. It could cause flooding in the plant. It could cause a depressurization. So these pumps, like I said, they're beyond their useful life. We put together a program, and then we did design it, so this will allow us to bid it, and then we'll have a contract to replace these pumps, these valves for these pumps, not the pumps.
All right, well, thank you, I appreciate that. Any committee members, questions or comments? Seeing any other council members with us today? All right, is consent okay, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Motion for consent.
Second?
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to number 12, Sarah.
Item number 12 is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids to replace lead service lines throughout the city and declaring an emergency.
Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes, this legislation will allow us to advertise an award for the replacement of unknown service line as necessary. So there is no, just to be clear, when it says replace lead service lines throughout the city, there is no currently, we've removed all the active lead service lines serving a home, okay? These are vacant properties. And we still have about 1,000 of them out there, all right, that are inactive. And then we have another 1,200 that are unknown. So we have to do some investigation. We'll have to dig down, and we're guessing most of those 1,200 are lead. So we're going to bid this project, and we also going to bid a portion of this project through the SBE, the Small Business Enterprise, to target small businesses, because some of this work, we really feel like it doesn't take a huge company to take on some of this work, especially like the restoration. So to give you an example, they're going to go down a street, a residential street, and you have a water main down there, and it's going to show either lead or a galvanized line in the street. If it's just a disconnection, all the contractor will do is dig basically a 4x6 hole, dig down to the main. He will cut off the lead. There's a little valve right on the main. He'll shut that off. We call that the corp stop. And then he will rebuild and restore the road, okay? You can't do it with a shovel. You got to have a little bit of equipment, but you don't have to be one of these huge companies to do it. The important thing of this is we estimated this about $8 million with all this work, these 2,400, okay? We went to the state. We're going to get a loan through the state, Ohio EPA, through the WSRLA program. And the beauty of this, we applied and we received 53% principal forgiveness. So we'll get a loan for the whole amount, but they're going to forgive half of this project to us. So this is going to be no rate increase. This is where, you know, we're going to be able to do this work with our normal operating budget, but to be able to get, you know, almost a little over $4 million forgiven is a huge project, and we are so much ahead of the game when you look at other municipalities. A lot of these municipalities have the 2037, and we feel by 2028 we'll be done with all this work. So with that, I'll take any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments from committee members? No, I do have a question. Without opening up a can of worms, I'm hoping that moving forward with this project that we can try our best to make sure we don't have any interruptions with street lighting.
Yes.
Okay.
Point taken.
Okay.
A lot of this work is going to be in the street, not in the lawn strip.
Okay.
And the problem we had with those disruptions, we were digging in the lawn strips, and a lot of those wires weren't marked. Because a lot of those street lights that are in the lawn strips, they're a direct burial. They're not even in a conduit, and they were unfortunately, a lot of them were hit, which means they had a restring, and you probably felt the biggest pain in your ward, right? Some in Ward 8, but mostly in your ward where we have those street lights. So most of this work's going to be in the street, and what we are doing, we're working with planning with some of the new zoning changes. That lot that was only 40 feet wide before, we might have said you can't build on it. Well, if we feel like that's a buildable lot, we're going to make sure we put a piece of copper up to that lawn strip. So that's going to save whoever builds a house there. They're not going to have to worry about going out in the street and putting a new piece of copper from the water main all the way up to the lawn strip. We're going to restore that. So we're working with Kyle and we're working with planning to identify those lots that we will put copper back to those. The other ones, we won't put anything to the lawn strip, okay? If we deem that, you know, that house might have had two. Why they did it 100 years ago, who knows, all right? But we're not going to put two back, or we may not put any back, because some of these, with the Mo-to-Own program, this house bought that lot years ago, so we're not going to put a water line there. It's just another thing in our system. There could be a risk if somebody digs down and hits a vacant, an abandoned water line, so we will not put those back. But point taken, we'll do our due diligence with the contractor to try to alleviate those problems.
No, I really appreciate that. Thank you, because, yeah, thank you. Councilwoman Amobian, please.
Chris, now what is GRR? I know it's galvanized replacement. What's the other R?
Galvanized required replacement.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anyone else have any questions or comments? And is consent okay on this?
Yes.
I'd appreciate it, committee, if we could.
Motion for consent.
Second.
All in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to the next piece, please.
Item number 13 is an ordinance determining to proceed with and levying special assessments for the improvement and maintenance of the off-street parking facilities of the Kenmore Business District and the Canton Road Business District and declaring an emergency.
Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. This is the actual cost that was incurred. in 2025, for the maintenance and upkeep of the off-street parking facilities off Kenmore Boulevard and Canton Road. So this includes sweeping, cleaning, snow removal, grounds maintenance, and other repair maintenance and other activities. So the property owners will receive an invoice from us. These haven't been changed since 2014, the rates. Like I said, it's true cost. So this year we probably had a little more of snow removal than the previous years because we had more snow. But the property owners, they know about this, and this is just to allow us to send them the invoice.
All right, thank you, Chris. Committee members, any questions or comments for Mr. Ludlow? Any other council members with us today? Councilwoman Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for explaining that it's the actual cost.
Yep.
Does that mean if there are improvements needed, such as like patching and striping and that sort of thing, that they would incur extra cost if we were to
Correct.
implement that this year?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
I'd love to chat. Thank you.
All right, thank you, appreciate that. All right, I don't see anyone else. Is consent okay?
Yes, sir.
Motion for consent.
Second.
All in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to the next piece.
Item number 14 is an ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of Riverview Road between the termini of 1460 lineal feet north of the southern property line of PTS of Lot 3, 4, 5, 6, 78, 67, 75, 76, 77, public purpose, and the northern corporation limit. Merriman Road between the termini of Portage Path and Riverview Road. Akron Peninsula Road between the termini of Portage Trail Extension and West Steeles Corners Road. Smith Road between the termini of Riverview Road and San Run Road. Portage Trail Extension between the termini of Akron Peninsula Road and Northampton Road. And North Portage Path between the termini of Merriman Road and Portage Path Extension by resurfacing and declaring an emergency.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. As you know, our assessment process, once we finish a project and once the warranty and the punch list is all finalized out, we wait a year or at least a year. So this piece of legislation is for about 7 miles of resurfacing that was done down in the valley. The two main roads were AP Road, Akron Peninsula Road, and Riverview Road, and all those other termini that Sarah mentioned there. So now that everything's been finalized out, this legislation will allow us to invoice the affected property owners along this stretch. So as you know, before we start a project, we send them an estimate, and then we go through the process, and then we do the project. So they will have two choices when they receive this invoice. They can pay us, or they could apply it to their property taxes over so many years, and typically a lot of people do that. Some pay. Some people pay when we send them the estimate. We send the check back. No, you have to wait till the project's over. So this is just allow us to invoice the property owners.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that. Committee members, questions or comments? Any other council members with us today? Okay, what do you think, is consent is okay?
Yes, sir.
Committee?
Motion for consent.
Second.
All in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Sarah, please.
Item number 15 is an ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of Copley Road between the termini of Mercer Avenue and Trigonia Drive, South Maple Street between the termini of Trigonia Drive and Glendale Avenue, Manchester Road between the termini of East Avenue and Wilbeth Road, and East Avenue between the termini of Vernon Odom Boulevard and Manchester Road by resurfacing and declaring an emergency.
Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. This piece of legislation covers about 4.2 miles of resurfacing. No, I'm sorry. This piece covers 5 miles of resurfacing. So kind of the same explanation as the last one. This project was done at the end of '23. We did have some punch list items that went on into '24 where they had some cleanup work, the 1-year warranty into '25, and then now we're going to do the final invoices to the property owners.
All right, thank you, Chris, appreciate that. Any questions or comments, committee members? All right, any other council members with us today? Okay. Is consent okay, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Motion for consent.
Second.
All in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Sarah, next piece, please.
Item number 16 is an ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of East Wilbeth Road between the termini of Interstate 77 and South Arlington Street, Triplet Boulevard between the termini of South Arlington Street and South Cyberlink Street, Maslin Road between the termini of Oaks Drive and East Waterloo Road, and George Washington Boulevard between the termini of East Waterloo Road and Triplet Boulevard by resurfacing and declaring an emergency.
Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is another piece of assessing legislation to allow us to assess the affected property owners. This is 4.2 miles of resurfacing. All three of these projects, I should have mentioned too, were all funded by ODOT. Portions of these are state routes, and we did receive money through the ODOT program. So this is same explanation. The warranty's over. Time to assess the affected property owners. And like I said, this was about 4.2 miles of resurfacing.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Committee members, questions or comments? Any other council members with us? Okay. Consent okay, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Committee?
Motion for consent.
Second.
All in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Our final two pieces, Sarah?
Item number 17 is an ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of West Portage Trail between the termini of North Portage Path and Treetop Trail by constructing and reconstructing curbs and concrete sidewalks and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This was the new sidewalk that was installed basically from Timber Top's entrance all the way down to the bottom of the hill on Portage Trail Extension. This was about just under 1,800 feet of new sidewalk that was installed on the, it was actually on the south side of the street all the way down. I think I've seen people use this a lot. It was a very good project, but there again, this legislation is for the assessment portion, so the affected property owners will now get the bill.
All right, thank you, Chris. Any questions or comments in regards to this piece? Seeing none, consent okay?
Yes, sir.
Consent, committee?
Motion for consent.
Second.
All in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Moving forward to our final piece.
Item number 18 is a resolution declaring it necessary to improve certain streets in the city between certain termini by providing street cleaning services and street lighting and declaring an emergency.
All right, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is our annual assessment for street cleaning and street lighting. The rate has been the same as last year, and in fact, the rate has not changed since 2014. So, as you know, the affected property owners, whether it's residential, commercial, we measure the front foot, and that's how they pay. So this allows us not only to provide our street lighting, but street cleaning services for the limits. The street lighting services include the Ohio Edison contract that we pay every month for the street lighting, the lighting improvements, extension of service, and for the engineering improvements, maintenance of lighting, administration. Street cleaning includes cleaning, if we do any irrigation, the sweeping, the removing of snow. This funds our whole snow and ice operation. It funds our leaf program. It obviously, as people call in 311 and they see that an animal was hit, it pays for that. That comes out of here, and other debris cleanups come out of this. So to give you an idea, I think a residential lot in Akron, it's 50 feet. I don't even think it's $100 a year that the property owner pays. And like I said, it's your sweeping, it's your cleaning, it's your snow removal, and it's the leaf program are the biggest things that fund this piece of legislation.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. All right, committee members, any questions or comments in regards to this final piece, or any other council members with us today? Okay. Consent okay for this one? All right.
Yes, sir.
Committee.
Motion for consent.
Second.
All in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, well, thank you, everyone, for being patient and hanging in there, and nothing else, we are adjourned.
Our next committee is the Public Safety Committee. Those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hannah, and Garrett. We'll give everyone just a moment here. Okay, thanks for your patience. We are ready to begin the Public Safety Committee. Again, those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hannah, and Garrett. We do have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Clerk Viviano. I'd like to call public safety to order. We have previous minutes to approve. If I could get a motion in a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We have a piece on the regular agenda we'll continue with time with. We have 4 new pieces, and then we will have a presentation after those pieces today. Our first piece is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to, if awarded, accept and expend a grant from the Violence Against Women Act program administered by the Office of Criminal Justice Services for 2026, authorizing the Director of Law or his designee to enter into agreement or agreements with Oriana House Incorporated to implement the grant by continuing to fund investigators for the Domestic Violence Unit and declaring an emergency. Who will be presenting today?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name's Jessica Connell. I am the domestic violence prosecutor for the city of Akron, and I'm with the interim chief prosecutor, Elena Sad, today. We are requesting approval to apply for this grant that our office has received for over 25 years now. It's through the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services, and it is funded by the Violence Against Women Act. The funds are used to offset the cost of our domestic violence investigators. The exact amount fluctuates every year, but it's generally from $45,000 to $60,000 with a 25% match from the city. This is supporting 2 domestic violence investigators. They are retired police officers from the city of Akron. They do a number of services for our office, very important work for our office. They prepare temporary protection orders every single morning. They assist upwards of 1,000 survivors every year on domestic violence cases and violation of protection order cases. They assist with explaining the criminal process and answering survivors' questions about cases. They provide referrals and access to community resources. And if necessary, they assist with establishing safety plans for the survivors. They will provide detailed supplemental reports and follow up on investigations and attend weekly family intervention court meetings. And with that, any questions?
Thank you. Thanks for that information. Any questions from any committee members? Any other council members? Not seeing any. What's the time frame on this for this grant?
Our application is due July 7th.
Okay, so probably would be a good idea to suspend the rules so we could move forward on this.
Yep, I'll make a motion to suspend the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for suspension of the rules. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. We'll get that before council this evening, and our presentation later should kind of play off of this too as well. So thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the next piece that's coming before us is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids with EMSMC to provide emergency medical services, billing, revenue management services, and then declaring an emergency. I see we have our HR, head of HR, Montrella Jackson. We have Chief Henderson, who's going to present here.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Chair, President, and Council President, and all the other council personnel that are here. What this is one of the billing, we are transferring from, well, migrating from life force to emergency management consultant. What this is as far as we are able to get an additional 1.75% as far as fee management compared to what we are currently paying, which is 6%. What that means as far as in dollars, so we normally bring in about $6 million. So out of that $6 million in fees, we paid it last year $360,000. So what this does now with our fees being at 4.25%, this reduces that to $255K per year. Our hope is, hopefully, it will reach that $300,000 per year because that means we've got actually raised more revenue at $7 million compared to the $6 million. And what this means for our citizens of Akron, they pay no money out of their pockets. This is all Medicaid, Medicare, and private insurance companies. Let me reiterate that, no money out of their pockets. So.
Okay, very good, Chief. Any questions from any committee members or council members? What's the time frame on this, Chief?
We would like there to be a consent because for continuity of operations, the contract that we're under right now expires at 6/30, which like in a few weeks. So.
Want to hit the ground running?
We want to hit the ground running.
Okay. I get a motion for, do you have a question?
No, I didn't have a question. Councilwoman Amobian.
Oh, thank you. Councilwoman Amobian?
Yeah, I couldn't find the switch, Mr. Chair, but thank you. So this is what they bill for all of the emergency services that we participate in, and they keep a percentage. And the percentage is going from 6% to 4.25.
That is correct, and this is just for all transports only.
Okay. Okay. So these are established companies, or these are mom and pop kind of businesses?
So that is a great question, Councilwoman. So we are entering into a partnership, an agreement with the largest company in the United States, which is EMS MC. And they have just within the state of Ohio, 55 agencies. Out of those agencies, like Columbus, Toledo, and Canton. So we're partnership with one of the biggest in the country. And what we also did, one of the things where we wanted to do our due diligence, because we want there to be the sustainability and the resilience as far as the fire department and our EMS service. So we actually did a service agreement with a company called Matrix Consultant a few months ago. This was brought in front of this body. And what we also did was have a meeting, a joint meeting between EMS MC along with our Matrix Consulting when it looks at the fee structure that we charge, because we have been way below the beltway when it comes to collecting fees for our whole body of work. And that's going to be a substantial amount of revenue we'll be able to bring in.
Oh, very good then. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Councilwoman. Councilman Mark Greer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief, I just wanted to weigh in and just say thank you for all of the fine work that you have done with this new agreement. I think that we are all impressed. And again, thank you to you and your team for making this happen in such an effective way and a cost-effective way, especially for our taxpayers.
Thank you very much for that, Councilman Greer. One of the things that the consultant EMSMC said was they've never had a department match with a fee agency where you can have a joint meeting where it could be that synchronicity where they can work together. And that's just not with the EMS component. It comes with our fire prevention also, with our fireworks, with everything that we do. They can actually scale that within this business model.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions or comments from any committee members, council members? Can we get a motion for suspension of the rules?
Motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll get that out this evening.
Thank you, Council President.
We have another ordinance coming before us. It's authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with Summit psychological associates to conduct psychological examinations and evaluations for safety personnel and other candidates with, as appropriate, and declaring an emergency. Montrella.
Thank you, Chair and members of the Public Safety Committee. This request, of course, affects the safety forces, but it's for the psychological services of applicants that are applying for employment through those departments, and also for other potential employees and candidates. So this would be an extension of the agreement we currently have with Summit Psychological Associates.
Thanks for that information. Any questions from any committee members or other council members? Not seeing any.
Chair.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. For this psychological test, is this for all safety forces, fire and police, or how does that work?
So this is for candidates that are applying for employment with the city of Akron through the safety forces. So it's part of the testing process. It's one component of the examination that they submit to psychological evaluations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Councilman. What's the time frame on this?
We would request consent agenda is fine.
Okay, can we get a motion for consent agenda?
Motion to consent.
Is there a second? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. And we have one abstention. Okay, we'll get that on the consent agenda. And we have one final piece to come before us. It's an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids, which National Testing Network to conduct entry-level testing for firefighter medic candidates and declaring an emergency.
So this is certainly last but not least. We have partnered before with National Testing Network, and so this is a request to enter into contract with them for testing for our firefighter medics, the entry-level positions. And of course, this affects the fire department.
So yes, how this impacts us, I don't know if everybody's aware, we would like to hire an additional 25 personnel as soon as possible. And with the retirements coming down the pike, you know, we have a couple of more letters that were submitted. We would like to really expedite this to get those forces to train these personnel and to get them on the streets as soon as possible to keep the city safe.
So I know we were talking before possibly September-ish, but I'm just wondering, there's always so many moving parts. Any idea when this class might be able to come to fruition?
That's a great question, and that depends upon this body. The sooner you can say yes, the sooner we can start that onboard process and get the ball moving.
Okay. Any questions from any committee members? Any other council members? Okay, well then I say we need a motion for suspension of the rules, because it'd be great to get this class started in a timely manner.
Motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
Yeah, okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll get that out before council this evening.
Graciously
Thanks so
thank
much
all
for your
of you.
time. Thanks for coming down today. And we now have a presentation from Teresa Stafford Wright. She's the CEO of Hope Healing Survivor Resource Center. I think this is probably going to coincide well with the first piece we had here, but this is in regard to the Summit County's domestic violence fatality report that recently came out. Welcome. And the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. Are you going to share the presentation? I'm going to share the presentation in case people want to see the slides. But thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all today. I am Teresa Stafford Wright, Chief Executive Officer at Hope and Healing Survivor Resource Center, formerly known as the Battered Women's Shelter and the Rape Crisis Center. And I'm just Just waiting to see if the slides are going to come up. Thank you for the opportunity to share this report with you all and answer any questions that you all might have. This report is the 2025 Domestic Violence Fatality Review Report that Kate Robbins is actually about to hand you all a copy if you didn't receive the copy ahead of time. But this report is just an overview of the fatality review cases that we did in 2025, and it helped us identify some key findings and recommendations for the community to move forward to create a safer community. And so just a little bit about Hope and Healing. We are committed to the prevention of violence through systemic change by providing trauma-informed and culturally responsive services to survivors of domestic and intimate partner violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking, serving both Summit and Medina County. Our vision is truly the eradication of these victimizations in the communities that we serve. Overall services, I'm not going to go through every single service, but I think we're most commonly known for our domestic violence shelter here in Summit County, where we have about 110 beds to serve men, women, and children who are actively fleeing these victimizations. But we are one of Ohio's largest and most comprehensive victim service agencies in the state, where we provide the wraparound counseling, case management, access to some of housing resources that we have, court advocacy, legal advocacy, mobile services, and of course our prevention services that's inside the school district. Just last year, we had a 15% increase in overall services provided. This first quarter of 2026 compared to the first quarter of 2025, we have experienced a 25% increase in services overall. We've also seen an increase in our hotline, roughly 39%, and a roughly 49% increase in individuals seeking shelter, and a 11% increase in shelter nights provided. So the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Committee sits with the Summit County Domestic Violence Coalition. This coalition is a group of professionals that engage with victims of domestic violence at any point of the stage, whether they're reporting at the hospital, the police department, navigating different resources, whether it's through victim assistance, Hope and Healing, as they are engaged in the different court systems here as well in Summit County. And so this committee, because of ORC 307, which was put into law on April 3rd of 2023, the committee had been talking about reigniting the DV Fatality Review Committee because it had been stalled for about 15 years. And it was stalled for various reasons, because we had a really low number of DV cases, DV fatality cases taking place in the community, although one is too many, but it was one case typically, historically, what the community was experiencing for a significant period of time. However, we have seen an increase throughout Summit County, and with the new Ohio Revised Code 307.651, it required that all municipalities have a DV Fatality Review Committee in place and submit an annual report about that community's recommendations to the Ohio Department of Health. So in the fall of 2024, we reestablished this committee after 15 years. Committee members include the Akron Police Department, as well as Hope and Healing, Summit County Medical Examiner's Office, the Prosecutor's Office, both at the city level and the county level, the Public Health Department, the Sheriff's Department, Victim Assistance, and other municipalities and entities as needed for whatever cases we are reviewing. Just a little bit of an overview of cases that we do review, because sometimes I think people have a little bit of a narrow understanding of when we talk about domestic violence. The ORC requires us to do intimate partner homicide. This is any time people have some type of intimate relationship, whether they're boyfriend, girlfriend, teenagers, or adults, we have to review those cases. Also family households, and the reason why we're looking at family households because the number of individuals that are experiencing domestic violence as an older adult being taken care of by maybe another a child or another sibling or something, we're seeing a significant increase in those individuals experiencing domestic violence and needing to access domestic violence shelters. DV murder, suicide incidents, unfortunately, we're seeing an increase where the offender, after killing the victim, they're taking their own lives. And we are reviewing those cases as well. Any suicide that may be linked to a domestic violence or collateral deaths. Collateral deaths include a situation that we had here in this county where a young man was helping a friend of his escape and get to a domestic violence shelter, and in the midst of helping her escape, he was murdered by the offender. So that will be considered a collateral death. And then cases that have domestic violence indicators with inside it. And so because of this, sometimes it's hard for us to get all of the cases that are listed as domestic violence. And so one of the recommendations that the committee is thinking about now that you won't see in the report is that we would like for municipalities throughout Summit County to report their DV-related homicides if they fall in these categories to the committee so we can keep track of them better. Right now, I literally scour the media and if we know those incidents because we're working with survivors to get this data. And so just to give you an overview, the committee, when it was established, we decided to do a 5-year look back instead of going back 15 years. And the reason why we decided to do a 5-year look back versus looking at all 15 years, we know that a lot has changed in the community, a lot of partnerships have enhanced over the years, and we really want to start back to where we had a little bit better understanding of if we could see some of the impact of that change. So we started reviewing cases last year in 2025 with cases beginning in 2020. All the way up to 2024. And so there were 4 cases that we reviewed in 2024. 2 of those cases, well, all 4 of those cases were related to homicides that took place in the city of Akron. And that's sort of the data that we have from those findings. And I will stay on this one before we go to the next slide for just a little bit. You will see the increase where in 2021 or 2020 to 2024, the community as a whole experienced 1 to 2 DV fatalities. And then in 2025, we had an increase of 8 DV fatalities. And so those DV fatalities in 2025, I want to inform you all that these are cases across Summit County and not just specific to the city of Akron, although some of these residents might have lived in Akron, but their death took place in another county. And so for the 8 cases that's from 2025, where we saw that significant increase, 4 of them were from the city of Akron, 1 from Stowe, 1 from Copley, 1 from Monroe Falls, and 1 from Northfield Center. 4 of those victims in those 8 cases took their lives after taking the victim's life. And so key findings, some of the key findings that stood out in the report was that 75% of the victims of the cases we reviewed were leaving or had left the relationship. Statistically speaking, when a survivor of domestic violence decides to leave the relationship, that becomes the most dangerous time for that individual experiencing domestic violence. 75% of the individuals in the cases that we reviewed had a documented history of domestic violence. That means somebody had reported them to a system in some form or fashion that they have caused harm previously. And then 50% of the survivors accessed some type of victim services before they died. And all of the offenders in the cases that we reviewed were arrested, charged, and sentenced to prison. So this is the part of the report that I think is really important. It's like, what is the recommendations? Because we're not just reviewing these cases to review them without finding if there are some gaps in the system, if there are things that we are doing really well that we can continue to build upon. So some of the recommendations were that we really need to strengthen patrol officers' immediate response to domestic violence. A couple of the cases, it was really hard for us to identify if the officers even knew who who the aggressive individual was. And so sometimes they were dual arrests or maybe not even arrests right away. And especially we saw that more noticeable in same-sex cases, that was more of a challenge for officers. We also know that that's improving a primary aggressor. Another thing is increasing survivor awareness of our services. With only so many of the survivors accessing our services, we really want more people accessing our services or other similar services that's available in the community to hopefully reduce the risk. The biggest thing that came out of this, though, because of majority of offenders had a prehistory of domestic violence or other violent crimes and engaged in using weapons, whether it was a gun, a knife, or strangulation, officers don't currently have a tool on hand when they arrive at the scene to do an assessment, a high-risk lethality assessment. And so some communities have what they call the Dale assessment, which is out of the Greger Institute, where officers are trained to complete this assessment and a community multidisciplinary team is kind of formed if the offender has a high risk of being a DV fatality in the situations. And so you have a probation officer involved, you'll have victim advocates involved, you'll have psychological services involved, you'll have this team involved to hopefully reduce the fact that a homicide will take place and an individual can be held accountable for their services. We are in partnership with Summit County Domestic Violence Intervention Court at the felony level. We have a grant that we're trying to apply for to actually bring this tool into the community, but with federal grants, we never know the outcome of that. But this is one assessment tool that we have seen in other communities. Once they implement this tool, it helps reduce and mitigate some of the DV homicides that the community may experience. So that's the biggest recommendation, and that's it creates that multidisciplinary response and give officers an additional level of knowledge to better respond to these cases, sort of similar to what Akron Police Department has recently done with the SOAR team that are responding to sexual assault cases. I'm just going to pause. I know I've stated a lot, but you all have the report, and thank you for that opportunity, and I'm open to questions from you all.
Thanks for the presentation. That's a lot of information there, and it's impressive how they're correlating with other agencies to be able to work on this now. So it seems like that might be able to prevent some of these deaths when you have these assessments done. So that's great to see these other agencies involved as well. Any comments or questions from any committee members? Councilman Lombardo.
Thank you. Just a comment. Thank you for what you do. Some of those stats, the numbers were increasing, but you're able to provide those wraparound services. So just thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilman. Councilman Hanna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How would you train a police officer that has never encountered this before? What would you do to train him or her for a situation that he or she might go into, a domestic violence situation? How would you train an officer?
That's a great question. I know in some police academies, I used to be a police officer, I used to train in the police academies, and we would do a section in the police academies around domestic violence and sexual assault, helping people truly understand trauma. First, that's where we're going to start, helping them understand trauma and how people respond differently to trauma. Once they understand that, we can get into the details of domestic violence and what it looks like and how to respond to, like culturally how to respond. How you respond in an immigrant community may be different how you may respond in an African-American community. How you may respond in being able to identify the primary aggressor in a same-sex situation may look different if it's not a same-sex situation. So we would have to really, the training that I have been, that I've done and with the International Association of Chiefs of Police, it is a all-day training to really help people have a better understanding of how to effectively respond to gender-based violence across the board. But you have to really start with understanding trauma and then unpacking some of the societal norms that we all have been taught about these crimes.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Mobian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your presentation. A couple questions. Well, one is a comment, the other questions. I know that police officers hate to go to these situations because they can be so dangerous. And, you go out there to address it and you think you're helping the victim and then both of them become perpetrators on the officers or whatever. It's just a really difficult situation to analyze. I've had the unfortunate situation of knowing someone who went through this. When you look at your numbers of 8 and 25, would that include a whole family when that's happened? Because in some cases, you have the perpetrator killing everybody in the family. These are just individual situations versus the number of victims in the situation. Would that be 8 individual situations versus the number of victims?
It was 8 cases with 8 individuals attached to the cases, unless it was a case where the offender took their lives after killing the victim. This isn't the cases that we have from 2025 weren't cases where there are multiple victims associated with one case. These are 8 individual cases. And Councilwoman, you're absolutely right. It has been shown statistically that domestic violence cases are some of the most dangerous cases for law enforcement officers to arrive on scene to. That's why it's so important to have that training.
Right. And the other question I have, you had other agencies. Would the mental health board be involved in this somehow?
Which board?
The ADAM board, the alcohol drug
The ADM
addiction
board, yes. They are actually signing up to send a person to sit at the table for the DV Fatality Review Committee.
Okay, just wanted to know that. But thank you for your work. I tell you, these are such sad situations when they happen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilwoman. Councilman Mark Greer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Teresa, I just want to start off first by saying thank you. The work that you and your organization do is so critically important. One of the things I wanted to ask is, can you talk a little bit about, I guess I'm wondering, how difficult is it to categorize some of these domestic violence fatalities when we know that domestic violence is, so many of these cases go unreported. And I mean, I'm thankful to you and your organization that you're bringing these things to the forefront, and someone might look at these numbers, especially in 2020, 2021, and so on, and think, well, maybe it's not a huge problem, but again, so many of these cases of domestic violence go unreported. Can you talk about how hard that makes it to really tell how many of these numbers are what might be lying beneath the surface of that data?
Oh, absolutely, Councilman. I think you are really hitting it on the head about data. Data is only good as the data we receive. And so just being in the work and doing this work for 20 plus years, not every homicide on the surface may present to you the information. You can have a gun shooting between two individuals and you think it's a gang related, but at the end of the day, it could be a direct result of a domestic violence situation where this brother is now defending his sister because this other individual caused harm to him, but nobody is really gonna go deep into that case because on the surface, it's gonna look like two individuals from the streets just got into a fight and now they're shooting each other, when in reality, it could be a retaliation from the situation. We deal with that all the time and more often than not. And so Danico, I had the pleasure of listening to Danico, and we've been working with Danico since those ARPA dollars was put in the community for gun violence prevention because we understand the connection to gun violence and domestic violence. So there are times when there's homicides and different situations taking place in the community that have a dotted line directly to domestic violence, but because domestic violence is often overshadowed by another larger crime, we don't always get that data appropriately. And when you're talking about domestic violence and sexual violence, they continue to be some of the most underreported crimes that we have in our society because of the shame and stigma that's associated with both of these victimizations.
Thank you. I just had one last thing. I think one of the things that really concerned me that you brought up in your report is about the increase of domestic violence cases towards older adults. Obviously, Akron is an age-friendly city, and I'm wondering also, have you had any correspondence and collaboration with age-friendly Akron of Summit County? I just know we have a growing aging population, and these are, along with, of course, children, these are our most vulnerable parts of our population. And so can you just talk a little more about how your organization is working to address that population as well?
Absolutely. One, we work closely with Adult Protective Services and some of the other organizations that serve this population to help get these individuals into safer housing, where not only they have a safe housing, but some of their medical needs are being able to be met adequately. Our shelter is not really equipped to be able to meet some of the medical needs of some of our older population that come into shelter, so we are quickly transitioning these individuals out into a safer, more adequate location that can meet all of their needs holistically, and then we can partner with them. But we're starting to see a tremendous increase of like a 55 and older population that are experiencing domestic violence at the hands of either their caretaker, or it could just be somebody that's been in a 20-year marriage and they finally got the bravery to say, hey, enough is enough and I'm ready to leave. So we're seeing both of those two dynamics play out tremendously. We last year, along with the city of Akron and the county public health department and the Summit County Adult Protective Services, submitted a grant application to hopefully create a more robust system here in Summit County that can meet the unique needs of this older population when they do experience victimization.
Thank you for that. I do think that age-friendly Akron and Akron Summit County, I think they would be willing partners to help raise awareness amongst their advocates to this really growing and, again, a critical problem.
And
Thank you
Councilman,
again for all of your work.
Excuse me, my partner. If I recall correctly, Age-Friendly Akron is part of that grant application that we submitted to be a partner.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thanks, Councilman. Any other committee members or council members have any comments or questions? Okay, well, that's quite a bit of information today, and it's hard work to be done. We appreciate everything that's being done in such difficult situations, and hope to see you continue making strides with this as well, and appreciate you coming down and sharing with us today. So we have nothing further to bring before public safety. We will be adjourned. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Our next committee today will be the Budget and Finance Committee. Those committee members are Lombardo, Amobian, Wilson, Boyes, and Bolden. We do have all committee members present except for Councilperson Wilson. We'll get started in just a moment here. Thank you. Okay, we are ready to begin the Budget and Finance Committee. Again, those committee members are Lombardo, Amobian, Wilson, Boyes, and Bolden. We have all members present except for Councilperson Wilson. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Clerk Bibiano. Welcome to the Budget and Finance meeting. We have minutes from our previous meeting to approve first.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. All right, nothing on the old agenda, but new legislation. The first being an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with the Akron International Soapbox Derby for the city of Akron to provide funding for operational support for planning and implementation of the 2026 Akron International Soapbox Derby and declaring an emergency. Mr. Fricker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is our annual contribution to the Soapbox Derby organization. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lash and Mr. Van Vossen to talk about the particulars.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Lash.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of council. This is, I'm having the pleasure of bringing the Soapbox Derby leadership before you to discuss their annual legislation, and I have Mr. Dennis Van Vossen, who's actually the new CEO and chair of the Soapbox Derby. I actually have him here. He's going to share some information with you, and then we'll allow you for some questions after the presentation.
Okay, great. Sure, that's fine. Thanks. Good, nice to meet you.
All right. Well, hey, thank you very much. It's been almost exactly a year since I sat before you guys before. At that time, I was interim at that moment. It was actually my first day, which is pretty wild to say, to be honest. But I'll be honest, I was super grateful to be able to do that last year, and I'm even more grateful to be here today. A little bit about me, if you don't exactly recall me from last time, but my name is Dennis Van Fossen. I'm the new president and CEO of the International Soapbox Derby. I'm actually a kid from the program. I've been doing this and been around the organization since 1997. It's going there fast, so I apologize. Been on the board for the last 5 years prior to this. Stepped into leadership in the interim basis last year, and evidently I did a good enough job that kept me around, which is pretty good. During this process, though, obviously I have a very deep commitment to the Derby. I've been doing the Derby for so long. It's been rooted in my everyday life since the age of 5, and been really, really thankful to give back to this organization in a positive way. But to be honest, for the last couple years, the Derby's been a little bit on autopilot, and we're trying to get it out of that autopilot stance. With me, with new leadership here, I'm excited to be that new direction and help us get to that new direction. And when I finally became official, one of the things that my first initiatives was to kind of revamp our mission, vision, and values. But to be completely honest, our mission really hasn't changed since 1934. Since 1934, we've been the same. The face of the champion is what is our mission. It's that champion behind that helmet, behind that wheel is who we speak to, whether they're from Akron or from across the world. Obviously, we're super grateful to be from Akron. From 1936 till now, we've been rooted here in Akron. Derby Downs was built in 1936. Our first race was in 1937. And we're super thankful for Derby Downs Drive. But our mission here at the Derby, like I said, hasn't changed. We inspire the next generation of champions. We bring STEM education out of the classroom. We promote the Derby experience, and we cultivate lifelong skills and character. All 4 of those mission bullet points I can talk about for 30 to 60 minutes, but we don't have time for that today. But one I will talk about the most is the inspire the next generation's point. See, at the Derby is more than just a gravity race. We are promoting youth improvement. We are leadership development in the form of gravity racing. We're building future engineers, future youths, business leaders, entrepreneurs, doctors, lawyers. The future of tomorrow are racing our sport, and I'm super proud to be able to lead this. Cultivate lifelong skills and character. Those values that you learn while racing Soapbox Derby are here on the board, but to be honest, there's about 50 to 60 more I could present to you. All 5 of those values, I'm sure, is values that you guys hold near and dear to your heart and that you use almost every single day. Same for our champions. And our vision here at the Derby is that we are the premier gravity racing program that builds skills and relationships that will last a lifetime. For us, like I said, we're leadership development in the form of gravity racing. What we want to do is we want to be the premier STEM builder in the area. We have been around for almost 100 years. Let's continue on that. We want to be able to give Akron a stance and place to be of a beacon of hope and innovation. We're 40 days away till champs arrive, which is, to be honest, a little nerve-wracking at the moment. But to be honest, with my background, I'm more than happy to be able to leave a large event because this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. We have 300 champions from around the world coming to Akron, Ohio to race to be one of our 8 world champions. We'll be providing $39,000 worth of college scholarships. We have new partners this year with MAPCO and Donato's, among many others, that we're super excited to bring to Derby Downs. We have a recommitted focus to the champ experience, adding new events that revolve around the champ, not necessarily about the race themselves. Again, being a former racer and being a former world champion, one thing that I remember the most is not necessarily the race. I remember the time that I spent with my dad, but also the friends that I made throughout the week in Akron, Ohio. One of my biggest memories is actually sitting in the Polsky deck, waiting for my name to get called to go down in front of Lock 3. You would think that's a pretty boring time, right? But it was an opportunity to be a kid with limited supervision and be able to be a kid and make new friends. And that's what I remember the most. And we're also going to have increased media coverage in a 1-hour documentary of PBS this year that we're super excited to produce. Executive producer Eric Welchenbaugh, who came with me from the Pro Football fame prior to this, He is our marketing and program director. He is producing an hour-long program with PBS that will then be distributed not only in Western Reserve, but then also in all 8 of our World Champions local stations. Now, hopefully, we get more than just Akron, Ohio natives to win the championships, but hopefully that has happened. But we are also hoping to obviously get our reach and branches out there and get some more exposure for our local communities. Since last year, our impact has stayed pretty steady. We have about 3,500 racers worldwide. Our education program reaches about 100,000 people. Why is this going fast? And I apologize. We're bringing about $5 million to the city of Akron annually. And our social media impact is about $15 million. Promoting the Derby experience is pillar 3 of our mission statement. The values that you learn, the lessons you learn while racing soapbox Derby, you're going to carry for the rest of your life. And all that is included with the Derby experience. Bringing STEM education out of the classroom is another experience that we would like to promote during our mission. Our impact on Northeast Ohio youth is about 52,000 youth, impacted about 7,500 youth in 2025 alone. Our summer camp brings about 1,000 people each year through a neighborship partnership agreement with you guys as well, but also with other organizations and outside people booking summer camps for their kids to do. We want to be, again, that avenue for kids to go out and experience STEM in an alternative scenario. We're not just a tablet. This is real-life STEM in a real-life scenario, and that's important to us. So like I said, I've been here for about a year. And sometimes in Derby, what you do is when you've been finishing third for a couple years, you like to try to take the car apart and put it back together. It's one thing that we're doing actively as a team. We're relaunching key fundraising initiatives and events. For instance, our Senior Day event that brings area seniors, we're having a revamped version of that this year, coming up in September, as well as our Corporate Derby Challenge, which is a national partner of Bobbit Business Media, to provide an experience for organizations to give back to the community, but also be a part of the Derby experience. I have a little bit of a goal to try to get every kid in Akron to go down the hill at least once, because I think they should. I mean, it's in our backyard. Back in the day, that was one thing that everyone wanted to do, but as interests have changed and technology has grown, we've kind of gotten away from that, but looking forward to trying to advance that for future. We have also a new added focus on community involvement and brand visibility. You may have noticed, some of you I've met kind of in passing here and there at various events. I try to be a little bit out there. I am a kid from the program, so I have to be, unfortunately, the face, but it's actually a good thing because at least I look decent. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we want to make sure that people understand that, yes, we're more than just the All-American Soapbox Derby. We have a full-time staff. We're 52 weeks out of the year. We have 80 race cities across the country and 2 internationally. We're more than just Saturday, right? This is more than just that. And one thing that's important to me, and I'll close on this, is that we're 4,430 days away from Derby 100. We actually will reach that milestone a little bit earlier than what this is actually saying because we've actually had 4 years of closures, 1 for COVID and 3 for World War II. So actually, we're going to reach this milestone a little bit earlier, but as in for actual derbies, it's 4,430 days away. So why does that date matter? Well, we have 7-year-olds that are currently racing that'll still be racing then, and me as a kid from the program, I started being around it at the age of 5. And one of our issues that we have as an organization is that we do have a little bit of an aging volunteer base, but that's no problem. But what we need to do is that the aging volunteer base needs to make sure that we are reinvesting into the next generation. 4,430 days away doesn't seem that far. It's 12 years. It's not. When you say it in 4,000, it's a lot, but when you say 12, it doesn't seem that far. Mm-hmm. Those 7-year-olds matter. What we do today in the strengthening the foundation that we're doing right now matters for that 7-year-old because at Derby 100, we're expecting a great event. We want this thing to be what Akron's proud of and maybe something similar to what used to happen back maybe even in the 60s and 70s. With that, I will close with that. I will answer any questions you may have, and I do appreciate and thank you very much for having me before you. We're super excited, like I said, 40 days away, and we couldn't be more ready than we could have possibly be.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that presentation. That is an exciting time of the year. I always go back to, there's one weekend, the Soapbox Derby, it's the golf tournament, it's the Hall of Fame Festival. It's all in that same weekend, so a lot going on in Akron. But thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
We have any questions here from any committee members or other council members? Okay. Shall I see?
Mr. Chair, Councilman Greer has his hand raised.
Oh, I didn't see that. Councilman Mark Greer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any questions, but I want to, certainly give a congratulations and a kudos to Dennis Van Fossen. He truly does amazing work there at the Soapbox Derby. I want to thank him and the entire organization for working a lot with us during the Akron bicentennial year, and the work that you all do, and I can't thank you all enough, especially for the education piece and bringing that to so many of our communities. And then as well, I want to say a big congratulations on the PBS documentary that I'm certainly looking forward to. They did a show on the history of the Soapbox Derby with us last year as part of the Akron 200. And so again, thank you to Dennis and his entire staff, and kudos to all of them.
Thank you, Councilman. All right. What would be your pleasure for this afternoon's piece of legislation here?
If it's okay with our Director of Finance, we'd like to go with consent, sir.
Okay.
Motion for consent.
Okay, motion for consent. Is there a second? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Very good. We'll put that on the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, our next piece is a ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the County of Summit for animal control services provided by the Executive's Division of Animal Control for a 2-year term for the period of January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2027, with 2 options to renew for an additional 2-year term, and declaring an emergency. And we have, who are we going to have speak here? Mr. Fricker's got his microphone on. Deb
Well,
Matz is
I
here.
will go ahead and go first to bat.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Members of council, this is our animal control facility contract that actually started on, well, it's actually for a 2-year term starting January 1st of this year and going through December 31st of 27. Again, as you stated, with an option to renew for 2-year terms. So this is something that has been negotiated. I know my colleague to my left, Ms. Deb Matz, has worked feverishly on this. We've had many discussions about this, and now it has been concluded, and we are ready to move forward with this. This is something that is needed for the animal control issues that we're dealing with here in the Akron area. So, and I have Deb, if she'd like to add anything.
I don't really know that I have that much to add, but we're certainly happy to answer any questions that you all might have. I'm certain that you have some.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll start. This is for $1.5 million a year for 2 years, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I guess, and I read the stats. I mean, I know that if I'm going to recite them correctly, about this is Summit County's animal shelter, but Akron has the biggest population of animals, dogs and cats going there, like some 80%?
Yeah, it's approximately 84%.
Right. Can you tell me how many wardens do they have? How many wardens does Summit County have?
Summit County, I think, has 2.
2, okay. And I think we have 2 or 3.
We have 3.
We have 3, okay. Do these 2 groups ever work together? I mean, what are like the hours, if you will, that, when when you need the animal control, and it's 8 o'clock at night, what's the procedures for residents? Is the animal control 24/7 to get
Well,
services from?
I can speak to our wardens. Our wardens are on call after hours. So if there are some issues that may come in, our wardens do go out. At certain, or on certain calls, APD may be involved. So we have a combination of our wardens and APD, because if APD goes out on a call in the community that's involving maybe, individuals, but a animal is involved, they are involved in that. But when it comes to animals, we have wardens that are on call and can answer these calls.
So, and I'm not thinking of the situation of, there's a loose dog on the streets, which is a busy street, which is concerning, but maybe the unfortunate house fire and there's an animal involved, what do we do? So how do we get a hold of the warden? They're on call, but what's the number? Is it calling the police that they have the number?
Well, a lot of times that people will call the police. Sometimes during normal business hours, they call 311, and a service request
normal
is
business hours, yeah.
service request is generated at that point. So it's a myriad of ways that it's handled. But after hours, a lot of times it's APD who actually receives those calls. And, some people call that through 911, the 911 call system as well. So.
Because in the past, I'm just wondering, it seems like there was a little bit of, I'll just use the word friction with APD and the animal control shelter not being able to get through the doors. So how has that been?
And that has been addressed
rectified?
that's been addressed in this contract, if Deb wants to speak to that.
Sure. So each of our animal control wardens has an access card to the facility. Goes in the back door. There are overnight cages in the back of the facility that are frankly accessible not just to our folks, but to every other municipality in Summit County, because they all have contracts with the county, all right? So under the best of circumstances, if one of our wardens goes with a dog in the middle of the night, they get in the back door of the facility, there's a cage ready for them, they can put that dog in the cage and they're done, all right? The goal for APD is to have each shift commander have an access card so that the officers can also access those cages. Some of the friction in the past had to do with the fact that there were dogs brought to the facility that were not appropriate for this facility. They can't really take injured dogs, sick dogs. They also, if the officer gets there and there's no cage available, I mean, I remember when I was still the county law director, there was an incident where the dog was dropped off and left loose in the hallway. To my knowledge, that only happened once. But still, it's not the kind of thing that the county's willing to take on. But that's the goal for APD, so that the shift commanders can also get access to that facility. So if an officer has a dog, can't get a hold of a warden, they can get into the facility. And part of the problem is also that it's not just the wardens and APD that bring animals to that facility. A resident could find a dog on the street, be concerned about it, coax it into their car. They can take that dog to animal control. If that dog is picked up in the city of Akron, we pay for it. If it's picked up in Barberton, Barberton pays for it. If it's picked up in Fairlawn, Fairlawn pays for it. But quite frankly, we're 80% of the business. So it's mostly our residents who are taking those dogs to the facility. And better that they pick the dog up and take it there than let it get, God forbid, hit by a car. But still, we're paying for that.
I see, okay. I have some more questions, but I'll yield to other council members that have questions. First, we'll go to, I saw Councilwoman Linda Mobian. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I remember last year, and I can't recall her name. I'm sure Donnie knows her name. She came to council. Apparently, she's a dog lover and she does rescues along with a team of somebody. And she unfortunately had been victimized assaulted by a dog or something. and was asking for council to pay for her medical treatment that she needed. And as I read the agreement, it sounds like with this arrangement, that there will be somebody available to handle a situation where there's a loose dog or a dog that's wild and attacking people, and someone would get them, either call them or they get to their attention. And if they don't have space at the animal control shelter, that they will have a backup provider or something. Did I see that in the contract as well?
It's anticipated that if there is a backup provider and they ultimately need to get a dog from the backup provider into the animal shelter, there are certain qualifications that the animal shelter requires. But we have put an RFP up. Frankly, it went back up today at noon to find an overflow facility or facilities, because it is conceivable that we would need to contract with more than one. And the goal is to find a facility that can take those animals, preferably off business hours, right? Because it's outside of business hours that are our biggest issue. And so the goal then would be to negotiate a contract with the respondent or the person who responds to the RFP to come up with a price, because I had the analogy drawn to me that Kenmore Construction would never give us free services. Why would we expect anybody else to give us free services? And so, it's only fair that if we find somebody who's going to provide these services, that we pay them a fair price for the services they provide to these animals that, obviously we're going to pay the county for them. Why wouldn't we pay the overflow provider for them? But that RFP is up. We've sent it out to a number of individuals, including Rubber City Rescue, who has always been very vocal and very willing to work with, our officers to house dogs when there's no place else to take them.
Just a follow-up question, Mr. Chair. The situation, as I recall, and my memory could be fuzzy, the dog was, you said something about sick dogs and other dogs that may not be appropriate. If they're not appropriate for the animal shelter, where would they be appropriate for? Because it sounds like this dog was kind of a wild dog or a sick dog or vicious somehow, because the dog did, allegedly attack the lady, and she needed some medical attention. So where would these dogs be taken once they become to the attention of the police or animal shelter?
Generally, the Humane Society is who we have an agreement with to provide care for sick and injured animals. Only problem with the Humane Society is they're only open during business hours. We don't have the ability to access them off business hours.
Yeah. And then that seemed to have been the case with this lady. I think it was after hours, but anyway, I just wanted to get some clarification. But that seems to still be somewhat of an issue. So you're waiting for people to respond to the request for proposal to see what we move. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Fran Wilson.
Hi, thank you, Chair.
Sure.
I just had a couple quick questions. Are you able to share the document with us, the contract document?
I can share the draft.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. My other questions, Mr. Fricker, I don't see on the UCR, the Uniform Council Report, I don't see the source of where the money's coming from. Can you share more about that?
This is general fund through the Department of Neighborhoods. So.
Okay. Thank you. And then is this a new contract? I couldn't find anything in the council archives online, like a previous legislation passed. So could you give more context? Maybe I'm missing something.
Sure. No, it's kind of new and kind of not. How about that for an answer? So in the past, we've had an agreement with the County of Summit for them to take our animals, and we only paid for 3 days. Just as an example, they have five, now they have 4 because one was adopted, but they had 5 Akron pit bulls that were dropped off to the facility that were adoptable. They were not expressing any kind of behavioral issues. They just couldn't get them adopted. And they've been there for 500 days. And if you only paid for 3 days of those 500 days, then, again, Kenmore wouldn't give us that kind of free service. The county bore the rest of the expense. So the point to this is that we're actually compensating the county more accurately for the service that they're providing us. But that's why that's why you don't find it in the old archives, because we really weren't spending very much money on it. And now we're going to be, but it's an appropriate amount.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd be interested to know how much we were spending on this previously, if that number or figure is possible to pull at some point. Not urgent. My last question is, I know we have, at least in our code, we have an animal control commission, and maybe it's out of the purview, but I just wanted to flag that. I don't know if I don't think it's active. Maybe it is, but is that active?
I don't believe it is.
That's not, yeah, councilperson, that is not active, as is the case with other commissions, boards and commissions, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you have as relates to, to anything like that.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Yeah, so if it's possible to get the contract draft and then any other figures from past expending, that would be excellent. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I see on this proposed solution that, you want a secure, dependable overflow housing solution with possibly a secondary or a qualified secondary private agency. This will guarantee continuous operations even when the Summit County facility is at full capacity. It's a good point. It's a good thing. And you mentioned that, you talk about paying everybody their fair price and, even compensating the county for all their services. My question is, what about the compensation for Laura Lawson and Rubber City Rescue for all the years, I know 6 that I know of, that she has basically bailed us out for doing her work with her own funds and her own wallet? So that would, it's great, and I'm sure she would be one of the first to, fill out one of these RFPs or answer that. But what about her compensation from the past that I know there's a couple of us that have, stomped for her and tried to help her out, because she is doing amazing things and helped me out at least 5 times.
Well, I appreciate that question, Councilman. There are a number of concerned citizens that do phenomenal work in our community, and we're very grateful. There are certain stipulations that organizations like this have to adhere to. They have to have insurance, et cetera, and a lot of them do not, quite honestly. So in order to move forward and do things the appropriate way, we have, as Deb has shared, we've put out an RFP. And those who are willing to apply for that, we're going to compensate them going forward. We can't look backwards, because a lot of people have been doing a lot of things that have been out of the public eye, and we appreciate the work that Laura has done immensely. And I know that has been brought up on the council floor many times, but we're hoping that that organization applies, and hopefully they'll be accepted, and we can move forward, and we can move forward in that direction.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions from? You'll go. Okay, Councilman.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Are you referring to me or Don? No, I'm sorry, Don. Mr. Lash, are you suggesting that we will be paying somebody retroactively for work
No, I'm
done?
not. No, not at all. I am saying that going forward, those who apply for the RFP, and if they're accepted, we will be paying them going forward if accepted. I can't look backwards and pay for something in years past, unauthorized.
Yeah, I just want to make sure
that's clear. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to make sure that was clear.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Councilman Kamer.
All right, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Chair. So I know my colleague, Councilperson Wilson, asked for the contract or any information. I would like for the City Council legal representative to take a look at that. I did speak to him earlier, and I noticed there was no contract or anything that was attached to this legislation. So I'd appreciate that if you could get that to us. And I'm hoping the committee would take time on this, because this is obviously a very important issue. And I appreciate the work with Mr. Lash and Deb on this. And moving forward, whoever does fill out the RFP, or if it's multiple agencies or groups, I'm hoping that the city administration will really sit down with those folks and have that conversation of what, expectations we want from them moving forward. And I wasn't going to say this, but I know Mr. Lash said, about looking back, and I'm not here to advocate for anything that was done or anything, but there was a comment made that, we really turned a blind eye as a city down here towards the one rescue group that really stepped in and took care of our problem for a long time, for years and years and years. And I didn't think that was appropriate comment to make, from someone from the administration. I didn't want to have to go there, but, I understand it was in the past, but, that rescue group really stood up and took care of, all these animals that were out there, out on the street, 2 a.m. phone calls, 5 a.m. phone calls, the police department, the animal wardens calling this agency to help with our animal problem. And even if it wasn't, Rubber City Rescue, whatever organization it was that was out there, if it was the last 5 years, hopefully I'm making sense. What I'm trying to get at is, we're grateful here as city council members in the city for having this problem with the Summit County Animal Facility, and basically having a person that would step up and do all this for us. So I applaud you folks for moving forward with the RFP solution. I hope it works out. I'm hoping that we are at the end of the days where we're having a overcrowding animal facility, and we might be able to have 1 or 2 or 3 locations where we can take animals and properly compensate for the work that they do, instead of just handing the money over to another government agency. So I appreciate that. I think that's all I have for now.
Well, and I'll be real frank, part of my hope with the overflow animal facility is that it gives us an enhanced ability to get animals adopted, right? I mean, the county does a lot of adoption events, but not all of the folks, or not all of the animals that they offer for adoption get adopted. Now, there are a lot of folks out there who foster, but hopefully, if we can get some of these rescues involved more, that will expand the number of people that they can reach out to that might be able to adopt some of these animals that are, they're perfectly good animals.
Right.
They've just not necessarily had the most responsible pet mom and dads,
Yeah.
to be quite frank.
But that's exactly what I was thinking too. It's great to have, a secondary, private agency to take the dogs in, or cats, or whatever. But then, just like Summit County, they do have an adoption program. So what's the adoption program for that, private agency? Because they would quickly get filled,
Right.
I'm sure.
Well, and that's going to be, as Councilman Kamer pointed out, part of the process is going to need to be discussions with these folks.
Yeah.
But part of that discussion is going to need to be, hey, by the way, if you want to work on having these animals adopted, please do.
Yeah, right.
We don't want to in any way, manner, shape, or form inhibit their efforts to, move animals out to a forever home.
Sure, I got you. Mr. Lash? Did you?
Oh, yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I want to go back to the comment of Councilman Kamer.
Yeah.
I want to apologize if you thought that was an immature or inappropriate comment. I was not meaning it in that spirit. What I was meaning to say is I don't have the funds to go back in the past and to make payment. I've spoken with Rubber City myself, as you know, and I've encouraged them to submit the appropriate paperwork so that we could get them on board, because I think they are very much so deserving of that. So my comments are of my own and not a reflection of the mayor. I definitely would like to work with any organization who would submit the required paperwork so that we can move forward, because to your point, this is a very serious issue. It's a very serious issue to me. So I just wanted to say that for the record.
Yep, very good. Well, I would like to take time. I know that was your suggestion. You're not on the committee, but I would like to make a motion for time if we don't have any other questions, and we could do that. We would like to look at that contract too. A draft?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I can get that down.
Can I get
that out to you all today.
Okay. Can I get a motion for time?
Make a motion for time.
All right.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Take time. We'll come back to this next week. Thank you. Okay. Our last piece this afternoon is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with West Publishing Corporation, a Thomson Reuters business, for a case management and database system for the Akron Citizens Police Oversight Board and the Office of the Independent Auditor, and declaring an emergency. I know we don't have many people here, but Mr.
So,
Fricker.
yeah, so we do not have Mr. Fennell, but I can speak on this, and if the committee wants to take time, he could probably answer more specific questions about the workings of the software, but I will tell you, this is the software that we originally budgeted back in 2025. It was budgeted again this year for $100,000. That's what the cost is. Of that cost, about $22,000 is for the installation of the software or the implementation of the software, and then about $62,000 is the annual cost. So this is a subscription-based software package. It is part of the West Publishing, so our law department uses Westlaw. It's kind of a derivative of that. It's a 3-year contract, that will be used by the board. So, again, if there are more specific questions, I think Mr. Fennell can answer those.
Yeah, Mr. Fricker, so you mentioned that, well, it's for $100,000, but 22 for installation, I'll repeat that, and then 62 annual cost. So 62 times 3?
Correct. So ongoing. So, and then there is an escalator on the subscription. I believe it's a 5% escalator on that portion of it going forward. But so the 1 year going forward, the 1 year cost would be, next year would be, 5% above, $62,000. Yeah.
Don't the Akron Police have a system that they, have all their use of force incidents in?
So they have their own. They do have their own. They have their own system for maintaining all of the. I can't speak to what the software is, but they have a. They have a case management software for all of their incidents that they.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe if Mr. Fennell's listening, we can ask next week too. Councilwoman Linda Amobian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Fricker. I did expect someone else to be, maybe Mr. Fennell's is on vacation or something, but I don't know. All I know is that he provided very thorough review of what this is and how they plan to use it, and talked about the pros and cons of having it and not having it. Right now, they're trying to do all their work manually, which is, inconceivable that they can do what they need to do, and also to generate reports. So I certainly want to make sure everybody's comfortable with all the questions being answered. But I thought the information he provided was very thorough and very detailed in terms of what they need and why they need it. So we can certainly see if he's available for next week and then go from there.
Thank
But
you.
I thought the report that he gave us was well done. Thank you very much.
Yes, it's attached in this legislation. Thank you. Do you have any, I don't think we have any, Councilwoman Tina Boyce.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to take time only because a lot of this is framed that there are things that are being done that will not be able to be done if we don't pass this. I'm guessing that's not necessarily what was meant since they're already operating. So, and they're not operating with the system currently. So I would like to hear more from Mr. Fennell to just better understand that.
Sure. So you're making a motion for time?
I'll make a motion for time.
Second.
And I got a second. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. We will take time on that, and thank you for your time this afternoon. Mr. Fricker? All righty. It's a wrap. Thank you very much.
That is our final committee meeting of the day. Council will meet in regular session at 6:30. Thank you.